Charlie Chaplin stands in the narrow hallway of Mrs. O'Malley's boarding house on West 46th Street, clutching his worn theatrical suitcase and staring at the faded wallpaper while calculating whether he can afford a room of his own. Behind him, a cheerful young man with kind eyes and a Lancashire accent calls out, "I say, Charlie, no need to look so glum. Why don't you share my room? Split the rent and we'll both manage better." What unfolds over the next 18 months of shared quarters doesn't just create a friendship between two struggling performers, it forges a bond that will shape both their approaches to comedy, teach them the value of mutual support in a brutal industry, and demonstrate that the greatest partnerships often begin with one person's simple act of generosity. Mrs. O'Malley's Boarding House, New York City, October 15, 1912. Monday evening, 7:30. The boarding house caters to theatrical performers, immigrants, and other transients who need affordable temporary accommodation in Manhattan's theater district. The building smells of boiled cabbage, coal smoke, and the persistent dampness that pervades all New York tenements. Gas lamps flicker in the narrow corridors, casting dancing shadows on walls covered with cheap floral wallpaper that has seen better decades. Charlie, at 23, has just returned to America for his second tour with Fred Karno's comedy troupe. The first American tour in 1910 had been a revelation. He discovered that American audiences responded enthusiastically to his physical comedy and timing. But between tours, he spent 5 months back in England, feeling what he later described as a disquieting feeling of sinking back into a depressing commonplaceness. Now he's back in New York, determined to make the most of this opportunity, but his financial situation remains precarious. The Karno Company pays decent wages for theatrical performers, but not enough for luxury. Most troupe members stay in boarding houses like Mrs. O'Malley's, sharing rooms to stretch their earnings. Stan Laurel, though his real name is Arthur Stanley Jefferson, has been with the Karno troupe for 2 years. At 22, he's already established himself as a reliable performer with a natural gift for comedy and an easygoing personality that makes him popular with fellow actors. Unlike many performers who view each other as competition, Stan genuinely enjoys helping younger or less experienced entertainers. "Stan Laurel, isn't it?" Charlie responds, setting down his suitcase. "That's generous of you to offer, but I wouldn't want to impose." "Impose? Nonsense!" Stan grins. "I've got a decent room with twin beds and a window that actually opens. Besides, it gets lonely talking to yourself all evening. Come have a look." Stan's room is on the 3rd floor, overlooking the street. It's modest but clean, with 2 narrow beds, a shared washstand, a small wardrobe, and a single chair positioned near the window. Stan has already made it homey with photographs from England, sheet music scattered on the windowsill, and a small collection of books. "It's perfect," Charlie says, genuinely relieved. "What's the rent?" $4 a week total, 2 each. Mrs. O'Malley's reasonable, and she doesn't mind theatrical folk as long as we don't practice our acts after 10 o'clock. Charlie nods gratefully. $4 represents more than a quarter of his weekly salary, but splitting the cost makes it manageable. More importantly, Stan's offer solves his immediate housing problem with typical theatrical efficiency. Performers learn to make quick, practical decisions about living arrangements. As Charlie unpacks his few belongings, Stan provides running commentary about the neighborhood, the boarding house's other residents, and practical matters like where to find decent cheap meals and which theaters might offer additional work for performers between Karno shows. "Mrs. O'Malley's got 3 other Karno lads staying here. Billy Reeves on the 2nd floor, Jimmy Aubrey in the basement, and now you and me up here. We're like a little colony of English comedians trying to conquer America." Charlie appreciates Stan's natural leadership in making him feel welcome, but he's also struck by his generous attitude towards potential competitors. Most performers guard information about jobs, auditions, and opportunities jealously. Stan seems genuinely interested in helping everyone succeed. That first evening, they talk late into the night. Stan shares his background, son of a theatrical family from Ulverston in Lancashire, performing since childhood. joining Karno as a way to see the world and develop his craft. Charlie, more cautiously, reveals some of his own history: the poverty, the workhouses, his mother's struggles, his determination to never be powerless again. "You know what strikes me about you, Charlie?" Stan says as they prepare for bed. "You've got the hunger, not just for success, but for, I don't know, for proving something. That's going to take you places. What about you? Don't you want to prove something?" Stan considers this. "I want to make people laugh. That seems like enough for now. But you want to make them feel something deeper. That's different." Over the following weeks, their friendship deepens through the intimate routine of shared living. They wake up together, share breakfast at the boarding house's communal table, walk to rehearsals and performances together, return home each evening to discuss the day's work and challenges. Charlie discovers that Stan is not only generous, but also creatively sophisticated. He understands comedy theory, studies other performers carefully, and constantly experiments with new approaches to familiar routines. Stan notices that Charlie is not only intense, but also incredibly disciplined, spending hours perfecting tiny details of timing and physical expression. "You're a perfectionist, aren't you?" Stan observes one evening, watching Charlie practice a simple hat-tipping gesture repeatedly in their small room. "I have to be. I don't have natural advantages like height or conventional good looks. Everything I achieve has to come from being better prepared than anyone else." "That's not true. You've got something special, a way of making people care about your character even when he's being ridiculous. That's not preparation, that's talent." Their differences complement each other productively. Charlie's analytical approach helps Stan understand why certain comedy techniques work better than others. Stan's emotional intelligence helps Charlie recognize when his perfectionism becomes counterproductive self-criticism. They begin collaborating informally, working out comedy bits together in their room, trying new approaches to standard Karno routines. Mrs. O'Malley occasionally asks them to keep it down after 10 o'clock, but she generally tolerates their experimentation because they're respectful tenants who pay their rent on time. "Stan," Charlie says one evening after a particularly successful show, "do you ever think about what comes after Karno? About developing your own character, your own approach to comedy?" "Sometimes, but I'm learning so much here. Why rush? What about you?" "I think about it constantly. I want to create something completely original, something that's mine alone, not just copying what other comedians do, but finding my own voice." Stan recognizes Charlie's ambition as both inspiring and potentially isolating. "Just remember that collaboration can make individual work stronger. The best comedians I've seen understand how to play off other performers." As winter approaches, their living arrangement becomes more than mere convenience. It becomes essential support for two young men navigating the uncertain world of professional entertainment. When Charlie struggles with homesickness or doubts about his future, Stan provides encouragement and practical optimism. When Stan faces his own moments of discouragement about his career progress, Charlie offers analytical perspective and unwavering confidence in his roommate's abilities. They develop routines and traditions that make their modest accommodation feel like home. Sunday mornings, they walk together through Central Park, discussing everything from comedy theory to their dreams for the future. Wednesday evenings, they attend other theatrical performances, studying different approaches to entertainment and audience engagement. "Charlie," Stan says during one of their park walks in November, "I've been thinking about what you said about finding your own voice. You're already doing it. The way you move, the way you express emotion through physical gesture, that's distinctly you." "You think so?" "Sometimes I worry I'm just copying bits from Dan Lena or other music hall performers I admired growing up." Everyone builds on what came before, but you're synthesizing it into something new. And you're adding something I don't see in other comedians, a kind of dignity, even when your character is in ridiculous situations. These conversations help Charlie understand that his artistic development benefits from having someone who observes his work closely and offers honest feedback. Stan's perspective helps him see patterns in his own performance choices that he might miss through self-analysis alone. In December 1913, everything changes. Max Sennett, the famous director from Keystone Film Company, attends a Karno performance and offers Charlie a contract to work in Hollywood making motion pictures. The offer represents an enormous opportunity, $150 per week, nearly triple his current salary, and a chance to reach audiences far beyond live theater. But accepting means leaving New York, ending his partnership with Karno, and separating from Stan. "You have to take it," Stan says immediately when Charlie explains the offer. "This is exactly what you've been preparing for, a chance to develop your own character and style without company restrictions." "But what about you? What about our plans to collaborate on new material?" "Charlie, menship means wanting what's best for your friend, even when it's not best for you. This opportunity is perfect for you. I'm not ready for something like this yet. I need more experience, more development of my own approach." "Will you be all right? With the room rent, I mean?" Stan laughs. "I'll find another roommate, probably someone who doesn't practice hat tipping until midnight." On Charlie's last night in the boarding house, they stay up talking until dawn. They discuss their 18 months together, what they've learned from each other, and their hopes for the future. "Charlie, you've been the best friend I could have had during this time. You've taught me that generosity makes you stronger, not weaker, and that collaboration doesn't diminish individual achievement, it enhances it. And you've taught me that discipline and perfectionism aren't obsessions, they're choices about how seriously you take your work. When I'm ready to develop my own character, I'll remember what I learned watching you." They promise to stay in touch, though both understand that their careers may take them in completely different directions. Years later, when Charlie has become the world's most famous comedian and Stan has found his own success partnered with Oliver Hardy, they often reflect on their boarding house friendship as formative to their understanding of comedy and collaboration. In his autobiography, Charlie writes, "Stan Laurel was the first person in America who showed me that success doesn't require ruthless competition. His generosity taught me that helping others succeed can create opportunities for everyone." Stan, in interviews, always speaks warmly of their shared room. "Charlie had the hunger and discipline that separates great performers from merely good ones. Living with him taught me what real professional commitment looks like." Their friendship, which began with Stan's simple offer to share a room, established patterns of mutual support and creative collaboration that influenced both their approaches to working with others throughout their careers. The 18 months they spent as roommates proved that sometimes the most important relationships begin not with grand gestures or dramatic moments, but with someone's willingness to share what they have with someone who needs help. Mrs. O'Malley's boarding house was demolished in 1954, but the friendship that began in room 3B left a lasting impact on American comedy through two performers who learned that generosity and mutual support create better art than isolation and competition.